Picture this: Patrick Mahomes breaking records for Matt Nagy in Chicago, John Gruden whipping up play calls for Kyler Murray, Josh Allen breaking the Browns' playoff drought instead of Baker. A far-fetched story, right? Not at all. Just hear me out. The NFL draft is filled with what-ifs. Some require intricate chain reactions, but the reality I just painted was almost as close to true as the flip of a coin. For that story, we have to take you back to 2014, when a walk-on quarterback in Lubbock, Texas, stood at a fork in the road that, one way or the other, would drastically change pro football history forever. In 2013, a quarterback from Lake Travis, Texas, by the name of Baker Mayfield, walked onto the Texas Tech football program. After growing up an Oklahoma fan, Mayfield didn't have the opportunity to go to his dream school after receiving only 3 scholarship offers out of high school: FAU, New Mexico, and Rice. So instead, he decided to pay his way to school as a walk-on for an exciting offensive head coach at Texas Tech named Kliff Kingsbury. Mayfield started from the bottom of the depth chart, but after improving in summer workouts and an injury to the expected starter Michael Brewer, Mayfield was named the starter for the season opener, making him the first walk-on freshman to start a season-opening game at quarterback in FBS history. In Kingsbury's air raid offense, Mayfield was a flamethrower of stats. He was 5-0 with nearly 1,500 passing yards and an efficiency rating of over 150. In that 5th win, Mayfield got hurt and was replaced by Davis Webb. Webb went on to win Texas Tech's next 2 games, but then lost 2 in a row before Mayfield returned as the starter. However, even with Mayfield back, Tech's losing streak continued as they dropped 3 more games, making it 5 losses in a row. Kingsbury eventually put Webb back in for the team's bowl game to end the season. As the year came to a close, Mayfield was upset with his current situation. Though he was named Big 12 Conference Freshman Offensive Player of the Year, it was reported that Mayfield hadn't even been offered a scholarship for the following season. Kingsbury denied that Mayfield wouldn't have been given a scholarship, but as Webb threw 4 touchdowns in the bowl game to end the year, it appeared that Mayfield wouldn't be the starter the following season. So instead, he decided to transfer. After the season, Mayfield did an interview with ESPN where he cited miscommunication between himself and his head coach during the season. Mayfield went on to explain that he was healthy and ready to play weeks before Kingsbury put him back in for that Kansas State game. Mayfield said during his time, Kingsbury kept him in the dark as to why Mayfield wasn't back in the starting lineup. That, compiled with a lack of commitment to Mayfield, is what led him to transfer. As we all know now, the results of that were an incredible career at Oklahoma, a Heisman Trophy, a #1 overall draft selection, and so much more that shaped the rest of college football and the NFL because of that decision. But what if Mayfield had stayed? If he did, it's no hyperbole to say the world of football as we know it might have looked completely different. Let's say Kingsbury had a change of heart. After looking at his options, he chose Mayfield as his future and gave him full confidence. Because of this, Mayfield decided to stick around at Texas Tech. That would have made him a sophomore QB coming off Freshman of the Year honors, with another sophomore with starting experience behind him on the depth chart. With 2 young quarterbacks already entrenched on the roster, that would have likely swayed quarterback recruits from Tech for at least that cycle. One quarterback who was in that cycle for Tech was Patrick Mahomes. With no clear path to playing time for Mahomes at Tech, he would have looked over his options. According to reports, Oklahoma State was Mahomes' second choice. At the time, there was no surefire starter for the Cowboys. J.W. Walsh was the expected starter, but he had lost his starting job during the previous season. OSU also brought in 4-star quarterback Mason Rudolph that year, but Mahomes would have been another addition. With Mahomes' arm and athletic ability, he would have presented the highest ceiling for the quarterbacks on the depth chart, and likely would have seen playing time in his first season, while then being the starter and taking over the conference like he did at Tech his sophomore and junior years. If we fast forward to 2016, that's when things start to really change. Mayfield, a senior at Texas Tech, and Mahomes, a junior at Oklahoma State, both would have been ready for NFL jumps, this time in the same draft class. With Mayfield never transferring, he never had to sit out and would have been in the same timeline as Mahomes. Before the 2017 NFL Draft, there were a handful of head coach openings in the NFL. After 4 years of putting up monster numbers with Mayfield as his quarterback at Tech, the Jacksonville Jaguars may have accelerated Kliff Kingsbury's NFL timeline by hiring him instead of Doug Marrone. In the 2017 NFL Draft, with stats and success from a non-air raid offense, the Bears might not have had reservation about Mahomes, and instead would have traded up to number 2 overall for Mahomes instead of Trubisky. Meanwhile, with Mayfield and his pedigree also in that class, Kingsbury could have guaranteed himself a strong QB head coach connection by drafting Mayfield number 4 overall that year instead of running back Leonard Fournette. He then would have traded Blake Bortles, like he did with Josh Rosen for Kyler Murray in real life, to the Cleveland Browns for a second-round pick that they would have spent on Deshaun Kaiser. A year later, the Jaguars would have made it to the Super Bowl with their 2017 defense and Mayfield as their quarterback. As the rest of the draft went, the Chiefs could have traded up for Deshaun Watson at number 10, and the Texans could have selected Mitchell Trubisky at number 12. But the butterfly effect of Mayfield's 2014 decision goes even further. Speaking of Kyler Murray, in 2015, Murray was looking to transfer from Texas A&M to a different program. We all know that after watching Baker Mayfield put up insane numbers as a transfer at Oklahoma, the decision to go to Norman made sense for Murray, and it played out very well. But if Mayfield never became a Sooner, that allurement wouldn't have been as strong. Murray's next logical spot? Transferring to Clemson to take over after Deshaun Watson. After sitting out during Watson's final season, Murray could have taken the reins of Dabo Swinney's team. And with the 5-star rated Murray already in Clemson's program set to become the starter in 2017, a high school quarterback by the name of Trevor Lawrence would have taken his talents elsewhere. Once again, we fast forward, this time to the 2018 NFL Draft. And with the Cleveland Browns starting Blake Bortles, they still would have ended up with the number 1 overall pick. With no Mayfield in this class, they end up selecting the quarterback who was reportedly very close to Mayfield on their board, Wyoming's Josh Allen. The New York Jets still draft Sam Darnold at number 3. And with no Josh Allen on the board, Buffalo doesn't trade up to number 7. Instead, the Cardinals still draft Josh Rosen at number 10, and then the Bills would get Lamar Jackson, who they were still very high on, at number 12. The following year, the 2019 NFL Draft, with Rosen still in the farm as a young quarterback, the Cardinals draft Nick Bosa at number 1. That left Quinnen Williams as the choice for the 49ers at number 2. Needing a pass rusher, the Jets would have selected Kentucky's Josh Allen at number 3, and that would have put the Raiders on the clock and given John Gruden the opportunity to select a player he absolutely loved throughout the draft process, Clemson's quarterback, Kyler Murray. That would have sent another ripple effect throughout the league, as John Gruden could have called up his brother Jay and sent Derek Carr to Washington in a trade. And while the Giants still took Daniel Jones at number 6, Dwayne Haskins would then go number 20 to Denver, and the Saints wound up with Drew Lock in the second round to groom behind Breeze. Back in the college landscape, with Clemson's starting quarterback already spoken for, Lawrence chose to go elsewhere, so he committed to the University of Georgia. With only Jake Fromm in his way, Lawrence earned the starting spot and won UGA their first national title in almost 40 years. With Lawrence's commitment to Georgia, another 5-star by the name of Justin Fields chose to commit to a different school, the University of Florida, under QB guru Dan Mullen, making Fields one of the top quarterback prospects in the country. Moving the timeline to the 2021 NFL Draft, with Lawrence coming from Georgia and Fields from Florida, both with 3 years of starting experience, they headlined the 2021 class. Due to the Jaguars playing well with Mayfield and Kingsbury, the Jets controlled the number 1 overall pick and the future of Trevor Lawrence. While Houston, who likely would have been giving up on Mitchell Trubisky at this time, and with the number 2 overall pick and no Laramie Tunsil on the team, would have their sights set on the prolific Florida Gator passer Justin Fields at number 2 overall. Mahomes in Chicago, Mayfield in Jacksonville, Lamar in Buffalo, Kyler in Vegas, Lawrence in New York, and so much more. The league as we know it today almost never was, all from a walk-on's decision to transfer back in 2014. And that's why I told you at the top to just hear me out.